Rams looking to get on the right side of 500, move to 3-2. Three important players to keep your eyes on Sunday afternoon against the Cowboys. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Travis Rogers. Not only do I host your Locked On Rams pod, I am also your host for your pre, half, and post-game show on the Rams flagship station 710 ESPN right here in Los Angeles. We'll get that going around 11:30 on Sunday morning. So if you're in and around town, make sure that you flip that on. Myself and Kirk Morrison getting you ready for that game. Let me remind you that today's pod is brought to you by BetOnline, right? BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, so here's what I want to get into today on the pod. I want to talk about that offensive line. There is a little bit of good news, believe it or not. There's still a whole bunch of problems up front, but we will talk about that offensive line and just some other injuries that the Rams are dealing with right now heading into week 5 of the NFL season. A very alarming trend for the Rams through the first 4 games of the season. There's struggles in the fourth quarter. We'll break that down and talk about why that continues to happen and how it needs to change if, in fact, they're going to get this thing back on track at some point. Also, I want to introduce something that I want to try to do here on the pod on a semi-regular basis. I'm going to throw in a little bit of a question of the day. And then, of course, you can respond in the YouTube comments on our Locked On Rams YouTube channel, which you absolutely should be subscribing to. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on your regular podcast feed as well. But here's the question, and go ahead and give me your thoughts on this in the comments on the Locked On Rams YouTube page. Is this a good team that's playing poorly? Or is this not a good team? So go ahead. We talked about this on a pod earlier in the week. I think that right now we're probably a little bit too early to tell, but I think that it's trending in a direction that nobody's particularly happy about. Hopefully they can get it turned around against the Cowboys here on Sunday. But let's get right into this. Let's talk about 3 different guys that are going to be a big part of what the Rams do on Sunday and what the Cowboys are going to try to get done on Sunday. Stop me if you have heard this one before. Let's start with Allen Robinson. Let's start with Allen Robinson by talking about Cooper Kupp specifically. Cooper Kupp is on pace to smash the single season receptions record. Smash it by like 30 catches at this particular pace. It's unsustainable. It simply does not, you can't throw, he's not going to catch 175 passes this year. It doesn't work. Whether, schematically, people will start to take that away. But even more importantly than that, even if he could continue to get open at this particular rate, the bigger question is Cooper Kupp needs to come to the understanding that going out of bounds is okay. That getting on the ground is okay. I get it. He's tough. I get it. He's a hard-nosed guy. I get it. He wants that extra yard or 2 or 5 or whatever it may be. Step out of bounds, because if you're getting dropped 13, 14 times a game, that doesn't benefit anybody in the long run. So that is why Allen Robinson is so important. Hopefully, Van Jefferson isn't too far away. Hopefully he can come back and impact the team in a positive way that he has in his previous seasons. Maybe Odell is on the horizon. But again, if the Rams fall out of contention before that happens, I don't know why Odell would pick the Rams, come to a team that does not give him a chance to go play in the postseason. So that leaves Allen Robinson. And Allen Robinson has 9 catches through 4 weeks for less than 100 yards. He's got 1 touchdown. It was early in the Atlanta game. It was nice, fine, great, wonderful. It did not swing the game in any meaningful way. Last week against San Francisco, he had 2 catches for 7 yards. Simply won't work. Now, the question is, how do you get him going? The question is, if in one of the ways that it's possible to get him going, can he execute that plan? And the answer is probably, let's find out. Because here's what it is. Allen Robinson is the type of wide receiver who, when he runs routes, they take a little bit of time to develop. He's a guy that gets down the field. I was talking with somebody inside the Rams organization the other day, and what his take on this was, You need 7-step drops for Allen Robinson to get open. That by the time Matthew Stafford hits his back foot on that 7th step, then that ball can come out to Robinson. That's when he'll be open. He needs a little bit of time to create some separation. He needs to get down the field a little bit more, and that's where he can go. Well, you don't need to be Sean McVay or anybody else to understand why that might be a problem. You can't get to they're not getting to a 0-step drop. That by the time the snap comes back to Matthew Stafford, he has pressure coming right in his face. So you're telling me I got to go 7 deep? It's not going to work. So the question now becomes, can Allen Robinson be effective in routes that take less time to develop? So far, the answer is no. He falls, he slips, he slides. When he does catch it, the balls have not been delivered in particularly great spots. The chemistry between the two of them seems to really be lacking. So that is something that you have to keep your eye on. Do they get Allen Robinson involved? And perhaps the next step beyond that is, how do they get Allen Robinson involved? Can he do the thing that he has not been able to do through the first 4 games, which is get open quickly, and then when the ball's there, hold on to it. We saw in Arizona a perfect pass right there in front of him, and he couldn't hold it. Went right through his hands. It looked like he almost didn't even see it. Now, that was a fastball from about 15 yards away. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but they pay him a lot of money to be the guy that makes that catch. So that's guy number 1. Guy number 2 is Micah Parsons. Of course, Aaron Donald, best defensive player in the league. Aaron Donald, maybe the best defensive player ever, right? Micah Parsons is probably the 2nd best defensive player in the NFL right now. He is a nightmare to deal with. He is an unbelievable pass rusher. He is unblockable under good circumstances. So the Rams clearly are not dealing with good circumstances. They are not dealing with anything other than all hands on deck. Now, we'll talk more about this when we talk about the offensive line here in a couple of minutes, but the Rams are going to have to find a way to slow Micah apart. You're not going to stop him. You're not going to lock him up. It's not going to be like he's an invisible guy, but can you make it so he's not terrorizing Matthew Stafford? Can you make it that he doesn't have a multiple sack day where he is just not blowing up every single thing that the Rams try to do? That's incumbent upon the Rams to try to find a way to do that. And then the opposite, right? The last guy that I'll throw in here is Cooper Rush, the Cowboys quarterback. Dak Prescott almost certainly not going to play on Sunday against the Rams. Cooper Rush has been good. I mean, when we were talking with our crossover episode with the Cowboys yesterday, Marcus Mosher, and he was saying that, look, he has not blanked it up. He has done what they've asked him to do, which is don't throw interceptions, make good decisions. Field goals are okay. Punts are fine. Do not give anybody some free points. Well, this is exactly what the Rams need to make sure does happen. Take the ball away. Force him into difficult decisions. Make him make decisions that he's uncomfortable with. Force him into quick decision making. This is what they need to do. Because look, while he's been fine for the Cowboys so far, he's still a backup quarterback. This is a big game on a big stage against the defending Super Bowl champions with number 99 staring him down from the other side. Make Cooper Rush think. Make him make decisions. Those are the 3 guys that I think you got to look at heading into the game on Sunday. Okay, so let's talk about the 4th quarter struggles for the Rams. Why? How do you fix it? And what happens next? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Let's talk about SimpliSafe. All right, here's a sports analogy for you, right? When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense that you can muster. This is why I use and trust SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's your cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. And with 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or they can't get in touch with you. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when the threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at SimpliSafe.com/LockedOnNFL. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit SimpliSafe.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Thanks again for making Locked On Rams your first listen every day. Make sure you check out NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On Local Experts give you the inside scoop of the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts, BetOnline. Follow Key NFL Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Travis Rogers and subscribe to both our Locked On Rams podcast feed and our Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Okay. One of the hallmarks of a good team, a potentially great team, a team that could potentially win playoff games and ultimately, ideally in a perfect world, a Super Bowl. How good are you in the fourth quarter? Can you hold on to leads? Can you make sure that you can score when you have to have it? If you're down by, you need to drive in and kick a field goal, or maybe you're down 4 and you need to drive the field and get a touchdown. If you're trailing by 10 points going into the fourth quarter, do you have an opportunity to go down and do some things? The Rams last year were very good at this. The Rams, Matthew Stafford is one of the best in the business when it comes at leading fourth quarter comebacks. He's done it just about as many times as anybody in the entire league. They did it last year over and over again. They did it in the NFC Championship game. They did it in the Super Bowl. They were good in the fourth quarter. This year, despite the fact that they're 2-2, they've been terrible in the fourth quarter. Not just not good, but legitimately terrible. Last year in the NFL, fourth quarter scoring differential, the Rams were 7th in the league. It's really good, right? I mean, you're talking 32 teams in the league. The Rams were 7th in the league, and it felt like it. When you were watching games last year, even if the Rams were behind going into the fourth quarter, which didn't happen a lot, they were a good team. You felt like, hey, they still got a chance to win this game. The opposite too. When the Rams were ahead in the fourth quarter, you thought they're gonna score again. They're gonna get a stop. They're gonna get off the field. They're gonna make sure that they grind out a drive, kick a field goal, and put this thing away. That the fourth quarter was familiar territory, good familiar territory with the Rams in 2021. This year, not so much. 7th last year, 32nd this year through the first 4 weeks of the season. Last 32 out of 32. They've been outscored in the fourth quarter 44-3. They've played 4 games. They've scored 3 points in the fourth quarter. 3 against the Arizona Cardinals. They kicked a field goal. Didn't score in the fourth quarter against Buffalo. Didn't score in the fourth quarter against Atlanta. And didn't score in the fourth quarter against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. That's not going to do it. And not only are they not scoring, they're not preventing anybody from scoring. 44 points. That's 11 points per game. That means that if you're ahead, they're closing fast. That would be Atlanta. If you're behind, they're going to extend that lead along the way. That would be Buffalo, right? We've seen both ends of this. This simply does not work. This comes back to Matthew Stafford in large part as well. This is somebody that has been incredibly effective in the fourth quarter in his career so far this season. You know how many touchdown passes he's thrown in the fourth quarter? Well, the 3 should tell you all you need to know. 0. He hasn't thrown any. They've kicked 1 field goal. They have not scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter all season long. Not a garbage one, not a late backdoor cover situation, not a put these guys away sort of moment. No touchdowns in the fourth quarter from Matthew Stafford or anybody else for that matter. He's also thrown 3 interceptions. Matthew Stafford last year, look, they throw picks, right? Quarterbacks, especially the way that the Rams play, there's going to be interceptions, and you just kind of live with it and you hope that they don't sink the day. Last year, he threw a few. He threw his fair share for sure, but he did not throw a single fourth quarter interception. None. 0. Through 4 games, he's thrown 3 this year. This has to change. The offense doesn't have to run like it ran, last year or through most of the seasons of Sean McVay. The league is changing here a little bit. We're seeing where even incredibly skilled players, incredibly skilled teams that have been typically unbelievably effective offensively, they're struggling a little bit. The scoring is way down. Unders are hitting like crazy. We'll talk about BetOnline a little bit later on. But you have to be able to score in the fourth quarter. You have to be able to move the ball in the fourth quarter, kick field goals. You have to be able to prevent somebody from scoring in the fourth quarter. And right now, the Rams are simply not doing it. And it puts an incredible amount of pressure on everybody, knowing that if that fourth quarter struggle continues, now you know that late in the game, okay, we're cooked. Now you know that if you only have a relatively small lead, you're talking a 3-point lead, a 6-point lead, whatever it might be, that you're not going to score anymore. It puts an incredible amount of pressure on your defense. Those fourth quarter struggles need to change. And again, all of these things go together. The offensive line needs to be better. Matthew Stafford needs to be better. Allen Robinson needs to get going. The running backs need to get going. The Rams need to find a way to get off the field more often on third down on the other side. All of these things come together. They have to find a way to win the fourth quarter, because 44-3, like this is not the Jets. This is not the I know, pick your bad team du jour. I know the Commanders, right? This is not the Colts, for goodness sakes, from what we've seen from them so far this season. This is not that. This is not a team that does not have offensive weapons. This is a team that's just really struggling to find a groove right now, and it needs to change sooner or later. They're going to find themselves in a really tricky situation, because that schedule that's coming up is a monster. Dallas this week, Carolina the following week, and after that, you've got division games, AFC West opponents, which means Chargers, which means Chiefs, and you got Tampa, and you got Green Bay, and you got New Orleans on the road. Good luck with that. You need to start putting some money in the bank. Okay, let's talk about that offensive line. Let's go through some other injuries heading into Sunday. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting information this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game that you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including the NFL, Major League Baseball, boxing, golf, MMA, you know it. Head on over to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts. And right now, the Rams, believe it or not, are 4.5-point favorites. Okay. I mean, do what you want. It's your money. That seems very high to me for a home game for the Rams, where there will almost certainly be more Cowboy fans in the building than Ram fans. The Cowboys are playing well. The Rams are not, but sure, 4.5. I mean, do what you will do. BetOnline.net, where the game starts. All right, so let's talk about that offensive line and where it is. Here's the cold, hard truth. If that offensive line either A, doesn't get healthy and get healthy very, very quickly, which seems extremely unlikely, or B, just play better, a lot better, all of these other things that we're talking about, well, I mean, I think you know the answer to that, right? That if you can't block, you can't pass. If you can't pass, you can't run. If you can't run, you can't pass. If you can't run, you can't block. And it's just this vicious circle of things that if the offensive line is broken, there is no answer. And right now, the offensive line for the Rams is broken. You have 2 third-string guys in the lineup. You have a left tackle in Joe Noteboom, who's been okay, but probably a little bit less than you were hoping when he took over for Andrew Whitworth. Now, there is some good news on the horizon. David Edwards is practicing. He is hopeful to be able to play on Sunday. Of course, he's your left guard, and at least that would give you one half of your offensive line the way that you thought that it was going to be. You'd have Edwards at left guard and Noteboom at left tackle. But as it was, and we'll see, he's still got a clear concussion protocol. Bobby Evans at left guard, that made 3 third-string players, because Bobby Evans was a guy that was on the bubble whether he's going to make the team or not. Now he's starting at left guard. You have Jeremiah Colonna, who third-string center. He's your starting center right now. Brian Allen hopefully back sooner than later, but now Coleman Shelton is gone for a period of time. He's your number 1 guard, your right guard. He's down. His backup, Tremaine Ankrum, he's down, which means you're down to Alaric Jackson, your third-string right guard. So, and then you got Rob Havenstein out to the right side. 3 different guys on the interior are not just backups, they're backups to backups. And you got Micah Parsons coming in, and you just dealt with Joey Bosa, and you're dealing with all of these guys that can get after the quarterback, and you don't run the ball particularly well. You've got one offensive weapon in Cooper Kupp that seems to be clicking. And Matthew Stafford, while I think has been given an incredibly difficult hand to play, he has not played particularly well either. So it's this combination of everything. If that offensive line can't get right, and maybe you can scheme around it, maybe you get the ball out quick, maybe you just say, we're going to do, catch, throw, catch, throw, catch, throw, catch, draw, catch. It has to be that quick. Maybe you can nickel and dime your way down the field like that, but it has to be better because on the other side of the ball too, you're dealing with all sorts of backups in there too. Troy Hill is down for a while. Taylor Rapp is dealing with some rib injuries. He may miss some time along the way. You're just having these guys stack up one after the other, after the other, after the other, in positions that were already areas of concern. Think about what we've talked about. Go back to around the draft, go back to free agency, go back to when camp was opening. The two areas of concern that you talked about with this team are offensive line and secondary. Well, where have the injuries absolutely wiped them out more than anybody else? Offensive line and secondary. Not sustainable. It has to get better. Look, this is the NFL. Nobody cares. Not only do nobody care, they're happy it's happening to you. You have to find a solution to it. And right now, the Rams are really struggling to find a solution on that offensive line. Hopefully, David Edwards coming back adds a little element of stability. But even when he was there, they were still struggling a decent amount. So hopefully they get that cleaned up before too long. We will have another Locked on Rams for you immediately following the Cowboy game after I do my post-game show with my buddy Kirk Morrison. So make sure that you check that out as well. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson Show, right? Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson giving you the expert NFL analysis that you need in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Until then, whose house? It's Locked on Rams house.